Like,
Hello, hello, my Soulpreneur Life family and friends. We're back again with another wonderful guest. You may recognize him from a previous season, Mr. Terry. Hello, how are you doing today?
hello, hello. I'm doing wonderful. How about yourself?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. So I want for you to just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell listeners who maybe weren't introduced to you in the previous episode a little bit about you and your business or journey, and then we can go ahead and dive into this conversation that we're going to have about the in between. Right? I think it's going to be really, really good.
Sounds good. So for all you listeners out there, my name is Terry. This is my second time on Soulpreneur's Life podcast.
Thank
I
you very
really
much.
enjoy coming on here and having this co-creation dialogue with Kendra. The first time I was on was almost a year ago. And we talked about my book. I had just released my book, The Resurrection of Self. So that whole episode, which we were just talking about that and where we's at. So it's gonna be pretty cool to see, where we've both came from that from a year ago to now. So I'm excited to see what this conversation is gonna create.
Yeah, it's so incredible too because you were rebirthing so much in your life during that time too. And I know I was doing a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes as well as we do as business owners and healers, right? Um, and so I know there has been a long time since we've had to catch up, but I really want to talk about what you've seen so far since you've been working with your clients, because you have clients now, you have your office space, you have the ball rolling and you're connecting with people and you're running these, what would you call them? I don't want to call it a retreat, but you're having these sessions with incredible people. You post about it all the time and you're teaching them. I want to take the
Mhm.
words out of your mouth, but you're
Yeah.
teaching them and guiding them. And I just want you to share a little bit about that before we really dive in.
Right. So I I have a one business with multiple facets to it. So the BreatheEZ, that's my business. I own a oxygen bar where we do aromatherapy. I also have BreatheEZ Living, where I do the spiritual life coaching, business mentorship, and conscious eating mentorship. And then I also have uh VeegEZ, Vegan Made Easy, where I do my cooking. So if y'all check my socials, y'all see the cooking on that. Where now I'm doing meal preps and I'm doing helping just people get started. And it don't always have to be about vegan. It's just about conscious eating. And then I also have Divinity and Masculinity, which is a faction of BreatheEZ Living, but that's the one where I do where I create a space for men to come in to heal. And we do meditation, we do yoga, we do journaling, and we just talk about, past traumas because uh the way that I see it and the way that's been so impactful in my life is going back and really acknowledging and healing childhood traumas because as adults, that's who we protecting. We're protecting that child. So all the bad things that happen to us, or all the situations that happen to us, or relationships that was good or bad in our younger life, in our younger days, molded us into the adults that we are today, and we act accordingly based off situations that happened to us as children. So just going back and really just releasing and letting go of those traumas is what the healing process is. It's really just letting go, acknowledging it, but don't have to be it anymore, because we react a lot subconsciously to situations based on those childhood traumas. So I help facilitate and help people move through those energies. And I use the chakra system to do that.
Yeah, I absolutely I appreciate the work that you do and I admire it so much because men definitely need that space. People need that space to do that. Whether you want to call it shadow work or trauma healing or whatever label you want to put on it, taking time to look at your past to understand it so that you can move differently in the world today is so meaningful and so impactful, but it's hard. It is so hard.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, but that the results from that
Yeah.
is unmatched. I
especially having
mean,
support.
right. From 2 years, just over a little over 2 years, since I've been on my journey, and I've been on an accelerated journey, I should say. That's just the way the universe worked it out, for me and the most high. But um it's just to see the changes. I mean, 2 years, over 2 years sober. I don't
Congratulations.
smoke cigarettes. I mean, all the stuff that I used to do, I don't do, from the things that I ingest. And I'm not just talking about food, I'm talking about music, I'm talking about television. Sometimes I do tap into the matrix because you gotta live,
Right.
because you can get overly spiritual or overly attached to things, and now you might as well just be part of a religion. Not that I got any problems with that, but that's what happens when you don't take time for yourself and everything seems to be negative. So you every now and again, it's really good to still enjoy yourself, because when you change the things inside of you, everything outside of you changes. So you'll be able to enjoy things on a whole nother level, just by going on your journey.
Yeah, and I think something that we have to understand is that we are still human. We're learning and we're experiencing and we're doing all these things, and we can tap into to spiritual concepts. Don't slip into psychosis, right? But tap into spiritual concepts or teachings and things of that nature. But you're still allowed to be a human and experience what your body is here to learn too, right? Because that's a part of your soul's evolution. So I think it's really good that you said, you phrased it, you tap into the matrix, you live your life and experience things. And I think that, especially with social media being what it is, sometimes people want to live in the spiritual and their upper chakras, um, because it feels good, right? And when
Right.
we're working with our roots and when we're working with our sacral or our solar plexus, it doesn't always feel good to heal those things.
A
And
lot of
so,
times, a lot of times that'll do it. So, but it's so important in a lot, and people need to understand that how it's so important, because that's what ties your higher self and your ego. That's what ties it together. It keeps you grounded. Everybody
right,
think you're supposed to just kill the ego. You need, in order for your higher self to exist, the ego has to exist. You
evolve.
just have to be aware when and when not to move in the ego or move in the higher self. You know what I'm saying? And that's the balance that we seek and that we talk about here on the spiritual side of things when we say we want to balance ourselves. It's not that we're trying to walk around 50-50 masculine, feminine energy. That doesn't work. What we're doing is we're balancing out how the awareness of the emotions that we have going on and what we need to move in. So do I need to move in my feminine energy, or do I need to move in my masculine energy based off the situation? But we've been taught and we've been groomed since children, and our parents and the world in general is just over masculated. So whenever you talk about feminine energy, the first thing people want to do is tie it to gender, and gender is not a part of the masculine or the feminine energy. You know what I'm saying? That's something that encompasses everything on the planet. You know what I'm saying? So like
Mhm.
when we know that, we able to balance and move in and out of emotions, because we don't become them, but we are aware of them. You know what I mean? And awareness, in actuality, awareness is that space in between. That's awareness.
Yeah. I really appreciate how you phrased it and how you brought up it's not tied to a specific gender, right? I know it feels like everything nowadays is tied to a specific gender role or to capitalism or to something
Right.
where it's just kind of, it can lead you to this wheel of frustration, right? Or separation. And I know a lot of people are trying to figure out how to navigate their healing, balancing and finding their harmony with their relationships, their jobs, their families, their romantic partners or husbands, wives, etc., or children, and it can become overwhelming, right? And I just wanted to say to anyone who's feeling that way that may be listening, all of this stuff is done in bite-sized pieces. It's done one step at a time. right? Like, don't feel rushed to get anywhere. And if I look back on my journey and I look back on my amazing clients, if you're listening, hi. If I look back on some of their lessons that I've also learned while helping other people or friends and things of that nature, allow yourself to do the inner work first, because you're going to become aware as you start to balance your own energy, as you start to balance your own relationship with your ego and your relationship with your inner child. For me, it was my inner teen. Um, you'll notice that your outside world doesn't necessarily align with what you want on the inside. But the clearer you get with what it is that you want to feel and experience on the inside, you can make moves in your outside world and what you're listening to and what you're consuming and what you're reading and what you are practicing in your day to day life, so that you start to create and call in more of that and create room for more of that, which means in order to create room, some things are going to fall off. That's people, places, things, no
Yeah.
limitations. So allow yourself to really be open to that. And I know, Terry, you had mentioned something about openness earlier before we got on the actual call. And I know we're talking about this space in between and the multiple meanings that that actually has when people present it to us. But you shared something really beautiful. And if you don't mind, can you just share like how you were talking about how important it is to be open to these things and the shift in that awareness?
So like, cause you that awareness, it when you are aware of things that's happening in the moment, and we're talking in the moment. We're not
Mhm.
talking in the past because that don't exist, and we're not talking in the future because that don't exist either. Just right now, in the moment, awareness. So when you start to things start to happen, we got to understand that the law of correspondence is a universal law that's going to take place as above, so below, as within, so without. So when you start making those changes inside of you, everything outside of you has no choice but to change. Because see, when you deal with that, you put in certain energies in that space in between. That space in between you and people, you and things, you and places that will no longer allow you to go and do certain things because it won't correspond with you. And that's when your reality changes. So the law of correspondence. And that's and it's a big thing. Like also you just spoke about in the noun. And it's not a race. I have a picture in my that hangs right by my front door that says success has no speed limit, you
Mm.
know, and because it's letting you know like your journey is your journey, and however you get from point A to point B is up to you as long as you're moving in the right direction. And that will cause you to do action. Now, when you get into action, which is another universal law, the law of inspired action, you have to take action in that moment. Like I knew I had been busy. For an example, I've been busy because I had started my business in Nashville, then I just moved it back to Clarksville where I live. But when I was in Nashville, I was going there, 4 or 5 days a week, right? And I still hold on to my matrix gig too. So, I didn't have time to work out. I didn't have time to go to yoga. This was all the things that I was telling myself, you
Yeah.
know. So before I knew it, 6 months passed. So I'm like, you know what? I got to get back to doing my yoga meditation, actually doing the yoga and back to my qigong and just things like that. So understanding that I need to reconstruct myself. And how do I reconstruct it? I have to be aware of everything in between that space.
Yes.
See what I'm saying? So like now that I'm aware of that, what am I going to do to move through that space? So I can't worry about how my physique or how healthy or how strong I'm gonna be physically in 6 months. What am I doing today in between time, you know what I'm saying? In the meantime. So
Yeah.
I have to get up this morning at 5 to be at yoga at 6, because I'm doing the action so that the law of correspondence as within, so without happens.
Yes.
And I'm also, when I set my mind, when I set my alarm the night before, I'm aligning myself vibrationally with what I want. So I'm attracting what I want, but I'm only focused on the right now. And that's
Mhm.
how the law of attraction works. But everybody don't understand that you need to uh, realize all 12 universal laws and move in those energies in order for the law of attraction to work. If you want to hold on to it. Now I
Yeah.
can go make some stuff happen. That don't mean I'm gonna hold on to it. A
Yeah.
lot of people deal with that in relationships. They
Mhm.
know how to go get the man or the woman. They don't know how to hold on to the man or the woman
Yeah. It's like, then what? Now what?
because they're not paying attention to that space in between.
Yeah. You're right. You're so right. And, a lot of people are moving within certain universal laws and they don't know, like they're just not aware of it. So sometimes it's overwhelming when they see them and then they start trying to break each one down. But sometimes it's just a matter of sitting down, being still, and asking yourself, as you like become more aware, as you start to study, as you start to surround yourself with people who are teaching you things, which one can I start practicing now? You don't have to try to implement everything all at once. This is a journey. People spend their entire lives working on becoming the person they want to become, and they enjoy it on the way, right? Like the journey, the experience, the fun, the love. All of that is done in the hallway to the finish line. It's not celebrated and enjoyed at the finish line. At the finish line, you look back at your legacy, right? So allow yourself to be a student of life. Allow yourself to like have these experiences, make mistakes, and make corrections. I feel I had heard someone say something, and it I thought of it when you were talking. As we begin to make these changes within ourselves, we start to have this kind of frustration sometimes, or disappointment, or hurt, or whatever it is, when we look outside of us and we start seeing our loved ones not matching our speed or our pace as we're evolving or doing something, or whatever. But it's like your taste buds are going to change at a different rate than your family and friends, and you have to learn to be okay with that. Your speed of learning, of digestion, of application, it's all going to change. So instead of kind of going off of what you said, trying to focus on, this is the person I want to be 10 years from now. Focus on what action, and I always say action is required, because what actions are you going to take today to help you become better with inside, like within today? What's going to help you feel better today? What's going to help you feel like you are walking in your purpose today? What is going to help you feel more aligned and in harmony and in balance today? Because those steps will help you get clear on, a lot of times people ask about their purpose or their healing and things like that. And when you become more open and you become more intentional with your actions, things start to come into your awareness where you're open to receive them. Perhaps something, a synchronicity that keeps coming up that you are not aware of until suddenly you're open to it, and then it clicks, light bulb. I've seen this 10 times already, right?
Right. And that happens oh so often. And like you said, those 12 universal laws, we move through them. And you don't have to be quote unquote awakened. Those happen regardless. The universal laws is there. It's just in what vibration or what frequency or what energy that we
Mhm.
doing these things in. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because the same way that you manifest a good relationship, people manifest bad relationship, or they stay in bad relationships, or friendships, or whatever the case may be. But I do like to tell my clients, like, and in the beginning, I kind of struggled with this in my journey because, for one, I'm a Virgo, so everything's logic to me. So
Mhm.
I'm like, why am I not where this person is? And on the spiritual ladder, or on the journey
Comparisons of
ladder.
thief of joy.
Right. So I had to really realize and sit with myself. And like you said, one of the most important things is just be still.
Mhm.
I think in one of the Bible scriptures it tell you, be still and know that I am God. You know what I'm saying? So when you understand and you be still, you're able to start seeing that you're right where you're supposed to be,
Mhm.
and that's it. And then that's what I tell my clients, and that's what I remind myself all the time is that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And the reason that you know that is because you are aware of where you're at right now.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with said thing, you are aware of that instead of subconsciously reacting to it. And that's when I tell people the difference between instinct and intuition.
And how do
Because
you explain
instinct,
that? Hmm.
so instinct, if somebody walked by and stepped on my shoe and I pushed them because I'm upset, that's instinctively acting. That's coming from the lower self or the what they reptilian brain or however they want to phrase it nowadays. You know what I'm saying? But that was an instant. That was a happened. That was something that the body reacted based off of thought in the subconscious.
An automatic response.
When you an automatic response. In intuition is when somebody steps on your shoe, you feel upset, you're aware of that, but you don't become the emotion, and you just say something like, "Excuse me," or "Hey," whatever the case may be, but you don't instantly react. You actually have a awareness about the situation prior to acting. That is intuition. When you're self-set, when some say, "Hey, don't go outside today," and then you go outside and get rained on.
Yeah.
Some told you not to go outside, but you didn't listen. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like instinct and intuition. But we move instinctively. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times it's based off a vibration or frequency that we encounter. You know what I mean? Like if I'm walking past you and I say, "Hey, how you doing, Kendra?" You might say, "Hey, how you doing, Terry?" If I walk past you and say, "Hey, Kendra," you might look like, "What?" You know what I'm saying? So it's that space in between, the time that that energy travels, that's that awareness.
Yeah.
And when it reaches us, if we act instinctively, we're going to react and then think about it. If we act intuitively, we're going to think about it and then react.
I've noticed over the last few years, I've implemented the pause much better. I know when I first started to try to implement the pause, it was probably 2015, and I was not very good at the pause at all. Um, but I'm much better at the pause now. And I think sometimes I find humor when people engage with me in their negative energy or when they're in their negative space and they're trying to intentionally, because there are people who just are nasty and they're trying to share their nasty energy with harsh words or cruelness or anger. Um, and now that I'm more established in my pause, I can find humor in it because I can reflect on, I remember when I used to have a trigger hair temper, right?
Right.
And it's kind of like that. I'm so proud of myself because I remember when, but then I shift into, do I want to have compassion for this situation, for this person? Because oftentimes anger is hurt and pain. Or do I want to shift into something else? Because sometimes you have to correct people in their behavior. Just because you're spiritual doesn't mean you're a doormat. And again, that's awareness, right? Um, and practice, a lot of practice, a lot of practice.
Awareness allows you to use your intuition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I
That
don't even think I had the awareness at one point in my life, and I was still intuitively moving through life, intuitively checking off those, like, where your ancestors, your guides, God, creators, like, don't do this, or like guiding
yeah.
you in ways that you don't necessarily even understand. I know I've walked through places that I shouldn't have survived. And I did because I followed that. And I wasn't necessarily as conscious then or as aware then. I was just doing it because it felt. And I think some of us do have that really strong connection to feeling before necessarily we have the awareness too.
Everything that we have now and everything that you will have, you was born with it.
Yeah.
You came to this realm with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because uh we are spiritual. We're light. You know what I'm saying? We all everlasting. We all forever. So it's like uh knowing that this avatar that we in, you know what I'm saying, it's just a temporary vessel, but it's here for us to feel out what's going on here in the third dimension, or on the earth realm, or the physical realm, or however people want to label it as. But we've been born with that. So like all the gifts and things that we got, we've been had it. They just taught us to use it incorrectly. So like I've always had the knack of wanting to be there and help people. I was just on a lower vibration doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, don't worry about it. Let's drink over it. Or, you know, I'll buy you a drink, or fuck that shit. Excuse my language. Let's go do this, or let's go do, let's go do that. Or, in the whole like really just having sympathy, because sympathy for people, because it was so easy to control the narrative when you have sympathy for people, because you take their pain and project it back onto you to make you the center. That's for sympathy. You know what I'm saying? So like somebody be like, "Oh man, you know what? I'm going through a bad time with my girl, or this, that, and the third." And I'm like, "Man, listen, I feel you, and I've been there, but this is what I did. You should try to do that." When you start implementing that and start talking about this is what and you coming from a good place, but it's just on a lower vibrational level, and that sympathy. When you come with empathy now, older, I know the difference. So now I deal in empathy. So I can come and I can feel what you have going on, and then I can assist you in however you need to get through that situation. It's not on me to say this is what I did or you need to do this. Is empathy is when that I have for the person is saying, hey, how can I assist you? How can I help you get through this moment? If you want me to just sit here and be quiet, I'll sit here and be quiet. If you want me to run to the store, I'll run to the store. That's empathy. And when you have empathy for people, you really allow people to be aware of their situation, and then they don't start to suppress. We was given a lot of, at least I know I was given a lot of sympathy. So the first thing I would do was start listening to them about their problems, and I would not deal with mine, but suppress it,
Mm,
which causes trauma.
yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. I can think of some scenarios like that too. And that's the skill of being able to hold space too. And it's, well, I do want to say for some people it's easier, especially with the neurodivergent world, stories of certain people's experiences helps other people learn, and that helps them process their own, because then they can have the words, it helps them to find the words to articulate what to share so that they can receive help. But I agree with you, and I was just talking about this recently, about the skill of holding space for someone and asking those questions. Do you want me to just listen, or do you want advice? That's something so valuable that anyone can do.
And it's very much appreciated too by both parties, that's involved. Like just really understand it. And then when you do that, you're genuinely coming from the love vibration, from love, you know what I'm saying? And it's just it's a really good feeling. It's a really good moment. And I noticed that when dealing with clients and things like that, that I have to be able to navigate that space in between. And I can only do that using empathy, because the moment I start having sympathy, I want to interject my truths onto them, which doesn't help them heal from their issues.
Yeah, and it builds resentment too. I've seen that where people share or they share whatever, right? Instead of holding that space and listening to the person in the way that they need to be supported. And then they get perhaps bitter or resentful or frustrated or whatever the feeling because they feel like that person didn't listen to them. I'm using air quotes, listen to them because they're still trying to process and figure out what it is that they're experiencing, right? And that's not fair. And another practice that's really good is asking whoever it is that you're talking to, if it's a friend or a coach or a mentor, whomever, if it's not your designated time, right? Like, do you have the capacity to hear this right now? Or this is what's going on. Do you have the capacity for this right now? I know that it seems kind of like an HR thing to do, but it's really based and rooted in love. And I know I'm going to use myself as an example for this because I'm right. Um, Especially with people who walk your journey with you. So my daughter's godmom, we talk to her about a lot of stuff, but she's also a school teacher. She's stressed. She's got a lot of stuff going on with her family. So with me understanding that she has a lot on her plate that she's constantly juggling and dealing with and feeling, when I need her to be my friend, right? When I need her to turn off her teacher hat, turn off her auntie hat, and just, like I need that friendship. Um, I ask her, hey, this is kind of what's going, or I'll say something. I'm like, do you have the capacity to talk about X, Y, and Z right now? I need your brain power. I need your perspective or whatever it may be. And that also honors your friendships and it allows your friendships to grow with you, to evolve with you, right? So that you don't lose people that really want to be there with you as you continue to evolve, but they just need to kind of be guided, right?
Right. And
So
that
go ahead.
and that happens a lot. I find myself uh like that a lot because I know where I'm at consciously and where uh some of the closest people are to me consciously. But I know it's certain things that I can't talk to certain people about because the level of understanding it just quite isn't there.
Mhm.
And that's not no knock towards anything they got going on or nothing like that. But sometimes I just have to find solace in someone who's been walking the same walk I have. So
Yeah.
it's easier to articulate what it is that I'm trying to say, and things like that. So it's it's definitely good to have that person where you can actually go and vent to. What they say, every therapist has a therapist.
Yeah. Yeah, the good ones do. The good ones do, yes. I
That's really the important thing about it. And I'm so grateful that I do have a lot of family members that under that they understand um where I'm coming from. They may not understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing it,
yeah.
but just being able to be open to the concept of what I have going on because a lot of times they may not understand the verbiage, but
Mhm.
then they see the businesses, they see the all the stuff on social media, they say and they can relate to that.
Yeah.
And that gives them solace in dealing with me personally. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to be the church goer. That's just not my thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, but that doesn't mean that I don't hold space or know that the creator is everything. You know what I'm saying? Is in and of everything. It's in and of itself. You know what I mean? So we're all bits and pieces of that. And I try to explain it sometimes that it's just um for me, there's no separation between me and the creator. I'm not looking outside of myself for something to come help me
Yeah.
because the creator or the most high or God or however people want to phrase their high power, I know that I am a part of that in and of itself,
Yep.
you know. So that space between is where I talk to the Most High,
Yeah.
and that's when I be still and I listen, and that's what I do when I meditate. I listen because all day long I'm firing thoughts out into the universe of, what is this, or why is that, or this is that, or when I'm gonna do this, or boom, boom, boom. So while I'm firing all that out, while I'm up and moving about my day, I need to take time every day to sit still and
Mhm.
just be, so I can get the answers that I'm seeking,
Yeah.
because it all comes from within. Because even in the Bible, it say in Luke 17:21, the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Yep. And even when it tells the story of animating Adam, like the breath of God is said to be what animated him, right? So all of that lives on through the lineage. Like there's so much in the Bible and other religious texts that support in whatever way you want to look at it, scientifically, esoterically, spiritually, etc. God is within us, and we're supposed to nourish that and nurture that and understand how to communicate with that aspect of us, because it's
Yeah,
all an inside job and everything outside of us is just support, mentorship, connection. Because, like you mentioned before, when we have someone who is a few steps ahead of us, we can talk to them, we can learn from them, right? Whether you
right,
want to look at Krishna or Buddha or Jesus, whoever you want to look to, right? All of the different deities or the different enlightened people who've walked a journey and left us a trail, a blueprint to follow. It's about
right,
turning inward and activating that God spark within you, within inside of yourself, and making sure that you connect with people outside, because this is a human experience. We're a soul having a human experience, so that our bodies can teach us the lesson that our body is here to teach us, so that we can implement that into our consciousness, our awareness, our training, our the way that we show up, and
right.
being
Like,
open. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, being open to those things, it allows the information that we're seeking to come into our awareness in the way that we're open to receive it. Some people may have dreams, some people may hear something, some people may have a really strong instinct. Whatever way creator speaks with you through you, it allows you to be more in tune with that so that it happens faster. It becomes more clear. And then whatever it is that you're actually seeking, I have full body chills like I'm cold right now. Like whatever it is that you're actually seeking is just brought into your awareness so clearly that there's no question. And then you start taking those actions, you start taking those steps and taking leaps of faith on opportunities, and just all of these things that just, it's like a trickle effect where one good thing comes after another after another after another. And of course bad stuff happens in life, or challenging stuff happens in life, but you don't see it as it's the woe is me, it's the end of the world. It's, hey, here's a challenge, I get to stretch and grow again, let me overcome this and learn a new skill, right?
Right. And that right there, it is in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, being able to have something challenging happen in your life, and have the awareness to say, you know what, this ain't the end all be all, but there is a lesson I need to learn in this. And if I don't learn this lesson, this situation will repeat itself. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn and we're here to grow. That's why all journeys are infinite. There's no top tier. There's no bottom tier. It's just a journey. Like, wherever you're at on your journey, it's just where you're at. You know what I mean? And it has no precedence on anybody else's, because your reality, you create your own reality. And mentioned I was an author and wrote a book, but I read a lot of books and I study a lot of books. I studied the Bible, I studied the Quran, I studied the Mahabharata, I studied the Torah, I got the Akapora. I do all of those things because it's been so scattered. Yeah, my bookcase is white too.
I'm like, I have this bookcase and four other bookcases out there, or five other bookcases out there. I'm like, a lot of those books I have them too. I think that that's another place where we have that in common, being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we learn. Being a student of life, but also applying what we le we're learning. Go ahead though. I want you to finish your thought.
Because I use them like and exactly what you said. It's like I use them for especially the big books. It's like navigation tools. It's like my GPS inward. You know what I mean? Because I I might have a hunch or have know something. So I go and then spirit might say, hey, go read this, or why did this, why this book look different today? So I open it up and I read it, start reading whatever it is that I'm searching for. And then I keep two books with me all the time that I constantly read. And then when I finish a book, I replace a book. I finish a book, I replace a book. But those are like my little GPS, my little series inside my own little head that guide me where I need to go and grow spiritually. Because I think in order to really understand the creator, you gotta understand everything in creation, you know? So we use uh saying omnipresent and omnipotent and
Mhm.
is everything and everywhere. So if that's the case, then you can't say one thing is better than the other also than that, because now you're getting into the idealization or the singularization of someone else's perception on a subject. And I'd rather have my own perception because I know that I am made in the likeness and in the image of the creator. So if I'm made in the likeness and the image of the creator, I too create, my reality. I don't ever tell anybody that what their God or who whatever should be. I just know that I'm mine, I'm
Yeah.
mine,
Yeah.
and you are yours, and other people are theirs. Not saying that I'm the God of everybody.
Yeah.
No. But if I'm made in his image or in the image and in the likeness, how can I not be?
And I love that you identified it that way too, because a lot of indigenous cultures and practices are so rooted in community, right? Which is really important for understanding how to continue to elevate and have your elders and have that wisdom passed down and all of that so that you can continue to evolve. And then you have these aspects that are very individualistic and everything is going to save you from the outside in. God is going to come from the outside and save you, which is where some of the psychosis and religious trauma and cults and even the facets of white supremacy, they want you to be, um, I don't remember how it's labeled on the tenet, but it's like basically individualism is a huge part of that, right? And I bring that up because if we look at religion in America right now, with it being I guess just the temperament of America right now and how politics and religion and white supremacy and just all of these cultural things are coming to a head. If you look at it just from the outside looking down on it, right? A lot of it has to do with individualism and this want for control and to be right and for you to only follow this path and it has to look this way. And if it doesn't, then you're wrong and you're something other than me. And it rejects the idea of connectedness and God being within all of us. And that link between all of us. We are all connected.
One of the things that I noticed with me um, is that when I understood oneness and I understood that my journey was the way that it was designed to be, that as long as I'm moving in that energy, I don't worry about anything. You know, the oxygen bar
Yeah.
that's there to help people work with anxiety, depression, stress, tension, headaches, migraines, just an overall sense of getting more oxygen into the blood, which lowers the blood pressure, which calms the nerves, which releases tension. because a lot of times frustrations, even though we just think they'll be mental, we're holding tension somewhere in our body that's
Oh,
associated with that
definitely.
frustration,
Yeah.
and that causes a dis-ease. So even with the oxygen bar, that is a facet of helping people. The My cooking, because I'm vegan, I'm not telling everybody that they got to be vegan, but the focus of it is conscious eating. And then I do the cooking videos to show people that you can eat good still,
Yeah.
even if you're plant-based, you know, and there's a lot of people out there that do that. And but it's there once again, that's something to help people, you know. And one of the main things that happens when you do change your diet is the mental clarity. And a lot of times that's not speaking of because everybody's so focused on the physical.
Yeah.
Yes, you're gonna drop the weight, you're gonna, you know, and all those things, but the clarity, the mental clarity from changing the diet is unmatched in itself. And then, you know, I got the life coaching and things like that. So my purpose and my path is to help others
Whole body wellness.
to move through their situations. But I can't work on just the mind
Mm-hmm.
or just the body. I have to work on all three simultaneously in order to achieve the goals that I need to achieve and to help others move through the energy so they can achieve. So we got to work on mind, body, and soul,
Yeah.
spirit. You know what I'm saying? So when you work on all three of those, it's hard to let one fall by the wayside, you know?
Yeah.
When it's all in your time and it's all in what you do. But that's my purpose, you know. That's what that's what I'm here to do in this lifetime on this realm. And it took me 40 some years to figure it out.
But you figured it
And
out.
then, you know, forcefully, but thankfully, you know, like my brother mentioned to me the other day, he said, man, he said, Terry, that motorcycle accident, when your life changed, he said, you died that day. I said, I know. I said, on so many levels, because that old me had to be removed in order for the new me to start to evolve and grow. So I came back like in a consciously in the infant stage. So it was like I knew things was different, but I didn't know how to articulate it. I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know. So the first thing I did was try to do what the old me would do, which is drink.
Yeah.
And when I tried that, that didn't work. Obviously, I had a mental breakdown. So, you know, and then I was like, okay, we gotta figure it out. And then that's when I started understanding. Well, that's when now I realized that I started listening to that space in between.
Yeah.
And that's what propelled me on my journey. So when you walk your journey, you you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish and what you can do. You know what I'm saying? Um,
And it
like
feeds
I
off
tell
of
people,
each other.
you're
Yeah.
right. Like I
Yeah.
tell people all the time,
Yeah.
faith is action. Faith is action.
Yeah. I think that that's that's a really good space to acknowledge and be into. And for anyone who's listening who's wondering, what can I do to start taking action today to do these things, to become more aware so that I can not only just recognize the discomfort that's happening around me, because oftentimes that discomfort is what activates someone to intentionally want to be awakened, right? Or intentionally want to start healing or start their business or answer a calling that they feel that they have on their life. A lot of people have those feelings, but they don't know what to do. So they're spinning their wheels and they're going in circles, right? Something you could do is start, and I'm going to have you add on to this too, because I know that you have a routine that you can share with people that will help, but you can start becoming aware of what doesn't fit you anymore, right? What doesn't feel good? What environments don't feel good? And start trying something new. If going to a club no longer feels like it's your thing, what does going to a coffee shop or a library or going for a hike feel like? What does it feel like to do something completely and totally maybe uncomfortable and new? But what does that feel like? Give yourself an opportunity to see if you like it or don't like it, because you are in that in between, that gray area, right? Kind of like people use the caterpillar to butterfly transformation and how you turn to goo in between, the caterpillar turns to goo before it's a butterfly. While you're in your gooey stage, make mistakes, make them big, live out loud, like eat foods that you want to try to eat to see if you like them. See how you want to live your life. Are you living outside of your means? Does it stress you out? What does it feel like to live within your means or below your means so that maybe you don't have that stress of carrying whatever weight you're carrying? There are so many different things that you can look at, but the important thing is to just every single day try one thing different than yesterday. Right. And do you mind sharing a routine? I know that you had mentioned you have a routine that you um, could share for someone that was just going through their awakening stage. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Nah. So, my routine or my practices is it's three things that I do daily without fail, and it's no set order and it's no set time. But these three things I make a conscious effort every day to do without fail. So the three things that I do daily without fail is I'm gonna do my affirmations, pray, I'm gonna meditate, and I'm gonna read the daily reflections from Alcoholics Anonymous.
Mm,
Those three things I'm gonna do every day without fail. I don't know how long the meditations be. Sometimes I try to meditate for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour a day. So I may do a 15 and a 30, however I can get them in. And normally I do that because that's my breaks, 15, 15, and 30 at my at my gig. But so those three things I do without fail because it's nothing like starting your day off. Like in the morning, I'm definitely gonna do my affirmations. Oh, and it's a fourth thing that I do too, which is pour libations.
mm,
I always honor my ancestors,
yeah,
known and unknown, and just the people around me, all the gods and goddesses, everybody,
yeah.
known and unknown. So I do that every day too. So those four things: pour libations, read the daily reflection from Alcoholics Anonymous, um, meditate, and affirm and pray. Like when you start your day off by telling yourself you're going to have a good day, or telling yourself what it is that you want or that you already is, you'll be amazed how your thought process will change for the whole day. So those are the four things that I do every day without fail.
Those are amazing things. And my daughter and I, we still do that before school. We do a gratitude little thing that we do in the car. And then we always say, what type of day is today going to be? And like she normally says, like, a unicorn sparkling type of day, or it's going to be a fantastic day, or something like, she's a kid. So something great. And then we start the day off on that foot because no matter what comes, it shifts your brain into that automatic response of positivity or resilience, if not anything else. So I love that. For the listeners who are on that want to get in touch with you, I'm going to have everything in the description. So if you're listening and you want to get in touch with Terry, it will be in this description for the podcast. But if you want to go ahead and shout out your socials so people can find you on social media.
All right, my socials, TikTok and Instagram is the two platforms that I be on most of the time. And you can find me at Terry underscore B757. And that's on Instagram and TikTok. And then also the underscore BreatheEZ, which is BreatheEZ, and that's on TikTok and Instagram as well. And then on Facebook, I have my company page, which is the capital T Breathe Easy, capital B, all one word, and that's on Facebook. So yeah, you can reach out, you can talk to me, inbox me, DM me, all that good stuff. If you have questions or you like a service that I provide, I do Zoom, I do virtual, however I can get to you or reach you. that's what I do. But you can reach me on those platforms. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, come check me out.
Yes, yes, I love it. And I appreciate your time. Again, thank you for being on. It's always an honor when you're able to come on or when we're able to catch up and have a chat. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom and your friendship of being here. It's really appreciated. And to all of the subscribers, thank you for listening today. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already so that you never miss an episode. And we will see you next episode.
Ashe, peace that way.